Commander Jiho's breath fogged the viewport glass as he leaned closer, eyes fixed on the construction vessel outside Ganymede Station. The massive ship moved with deliberate slowness around the half-finished defense platform, robotic arms extending to place each component with careful precision. At this rate, the platform would take another 4 months to complete. Behind him, officers and technicians moved about the observation deck, their conversations a quiet hum. Most paid little attention to the construction work. It was routine, unremarkable. The same methodical pace humans had maintained for centuries as they expanded through space. Still watching the builders, Lieutenant Yoon asked, stopping beside Jiho with 2 cups of coffee. She handed him one. "You've been standing here for nearly an hour." Jiho accepted the cup with a nod. "I'm thinking about how everything is about to change." "You mean the rumors?" Yoon lowered her voice. "About Operation Thunderbolt." Jiho took a sip of coffee, hiding his expression. As station commander, he knew far more than rumors. For 50 years, humanity had hidden its greatest technological breakthrough from the rest of the galaxy. The other species in the Galactic Council saw humans as plodding builders, reliable but slow, taking decades to construct what other races built in years. This carefully maintained image had been humanity's greatest deception. "Come with me," Jiho said, turning from the viewport. "There's something I need to show you." They walked through the busy corridors of Ganymede Station, the largest human outpost in Jupiter's orbit. Workers nodded respectfully as they passed. Jiho led Yoon to his office, sealed the door, and activated the privacy field. "Computer, display file Thunderbolt Alpha. Authorization Jiho. Commander, Epsilon 9-27. The wall screen lit up with classified images of hidden facilities throughout the solar system. Massive structures concealed in hollowed-out asteroids, underwater bases on Europa, and facilities buried deep beneath the lunar surface. "What am I looking at?" Yoon asked, eyes wide. "The real reason I've been watching that defense platform so closely." Jiho zoomed in on one image, a laboratory deep inside Luna, where a team of scientists surrounded a glowing cube of swirling energy. Dr. Tae-woo discovered it 53 years ago. The quantum probability manipulator. Yoon shook her head. "I don't understand." "It's about building things, Lieutenant. Not just faster, but at speeds that will seem impossible to the rest of the galaxy." Jiho pulled up another file. "Have you ever wondered why humans keep building ships and stations the slow way when we have such advanced robotics and AI? Because that's how long it takes," Yoon said, the confusion clear in her voice. "Everyone builds at roughly the same pace. The Alturians might be a bit faster with their crystalline technology. But what if I told you we could build a capital ship in less than a day?" Yoon laughed, but her smile faded as she saw Jiho's serious expression. "That's impossible." Jiho tapped the screen, bringing up schematics of a device that looked like a complex web of energy fields surrounding a central core. Dr. Tae-woo discovered that quantum particles don't just exist in multiple states until observed. They can be guided toward preferred states. His team developed a way to manipulate probability fields on a massive scale, essentially collapsing quantum uncertainty in ways that accelerate manufacturing processes thousands of times faster than normal. The display changed to show a simulation of a shipyard where metal seemed to flow like water, components taking shape at impossible speed. "For 50 years, we've hidden this technology, pretending to build as slowly as everyone else, while we perfected the process and built secret facilities throughout human space." Jiho's voice grew quieter. "We've maintained the illusion because we didn't want to frighten the other species or trigger an arms race." Yoon stared at the simulation, her coffee forgotten. "Why reveal it now?" "Because we have no choice." Jiho pulled up the security briefing. "The Vargan Dominion has been moving forces toward our outer colonies for months. Their diplomatic messages are increasingly hostile. Intelligence suggests they plan to attack within the month. But their fleet outnumbers ours 10-1, Yoon said. Even with our advanced weapons systems. Not for long." Jiho's personal communicator chimed. He checked the message and looked up with a grim smile. That's why I've been watching that defense platform so closely, Lieutenant. It's the last thing we'll build the slow way. He showed her the message on his screen. The emergence protocol has been authorized. Operation Thunderbolt begins tomorrow. What happens tomorrow? Yoon asked. We stop pretending. Jiho turned back to the viewport, where the construction vessel continued its slow work. Every hidden facility across human space will activate simultaneously. By this time next week, we'll have built more ships than in the last decade combined. Outside, a flash of light caught their attention as a military transport emerged from warp. Then another, and another. Soon, dozens of ships were arriving, taking position around Ganymede Station. Special crews, Jiho explained. Engineers and technicians trained specifically for the quantum facilities. For years, they'd been distributed across different projects to hide their true purpose. Now they're being called in. An alert sounded throughout the station. Jiho wasn't surprised. That will be Admiral Sung. The wall screen activated automatically, showing the stern face of Admiral Sung, commander of the Human Federation fleet. His message was brief and to the point. All military personnel, attention. The emergence protocol has been authorized. Operation Thunderbolt begins tomorrow. Station commanders will receive detailed instructions within the hour. That is all. The screen went dark. Yoon turned to Jiho, her expression a mixture of shock and excitement. Now you understand why I've been watching that platform, Jiho said. It's the end of an era. Tomorrow, we show the galaxy who we really are. In his pocket, Jiho's hand closed around a small data chip, his personal orders. He had been preparing for this moment his entire career. Ganymede Station would become one of the primary control centers for the quantum facilities hidden throughout the Jupiter system. What do we do now? Yoon asked. Jiho moved back to the viewport, watching as more ships arrive, their running lights blinking in the darkness. We prepare. Tomorrow, humanity stops building centuries and starts building miracles. President Do-hyun stood before the Federation Council, his normally calm face lined with worry. The emergency meeting had been called with only hours of notice, bringing together representatives from every human colony across 27 star systems. Many attended as holograms, their blue-tinted images flickering slightly as they sat in their designated spots in a grand circular chamber on Earth. The Vargan fleet has increased speed, Do-hyun said, gesturing to the massive display behind him. A red mass of dots moved steadily toward the green markers that represented human outer colonies. At current velocity, they will reach New Horizon Colony in 19 days. Frightened murmurs filled the chamber. Councillor Min rose from her seat, her hologram wavering slightly. My colony has fewer than 50 defense ships. The Vargan fleet contains thousands. We cannot evacuate in time. The Vargans have ignored all diplomatic communications for the past month, added Defense Minister Jay, his voice grim. Their last message was clear: surrender or face extinction. President Do-hyun raised his hands for quiet. We have tried reason. We have tried diplomacy. We have tried economic incentives. The Vargan Dominion believes us weak and sees our territories as easy targets for their expansion. Then we are doomed, said Councillor Han, the representative from Proxima Centauri. We all know our construction capabilities. Even if we diverted all resources to building warships, we could not produce enough vessels in time. A heavy silence fell over the chamber. Do-hyun exchanged glances with his inner circle seated in the front row, receiving subtle nods from each. What I am about to share has been classified at the highest level for over 50 years, the president said quietly. The room's lighting dimmed, and a new hologram appeared, a complex machine with swirling energy patterns. This is a quantum probability manipulator developed by Dr. Ta Wu in 2187. It allows for manufacturing at speeds previously thought impossible. The stunned silence lasted only seconds before the chamber erupted in shouted questions and demands for explanation. This is beyond anything we've seen. Why have we been kept in the dark? We could have developed our colonies in a fraction of the time. Do-hyun waited for the initial shock to subside. We have kept this capability secret for good reason, he explained, his voice firm. And now, it will save us all. He touched a control panel, and the hologram changed to show facilities hidden throughout human space. For decades, we have constructed these facilities in secret, disguising them as research stations, storage depots, or simple asteroid mining operations. They exist in every star system we occupy. Defense Minister Jay stood to join the president. Operation Thunderbolt is already underway. Within 1 week, we will have constructed a fleet large enough to meet the Vargan threat. 1 week. Counselor Min's hologram flickered as she leaned forward in disbelief. That's impossible. Watch, said Do-hyun, and switched the display to a live feed. The screen showed a massive cavern inside an asteroid. Huge machines hummed with blue energy as raw materials flowed into one end. Before their eyes, metal components began to form at incredible speed, assembled by both robotic arms and directed energy fields that seemed to pull matter into perfect shapes from multiple directions simultaneously. This is happening right now in over 300 locations across human space, Jay explained. The quantum probability manipulators don't just build fast, they calculate the most efficient construction methods and manipulate matter at the molecular level. Far from Earth, on the edge of human space, Ambassador Jai stood before the Vargan delegation on neutral ground, a space station maintained by the Galactic Council. The ambassador was the only human in the room, facing 7 tall, gray-skinned Vargans with their characteristic ridge-lined faces and 4 yellow eyes. This is the formal response from the Human Federation, Jai said, sliding a data crystal across the table. His hands were steady despite the tension filling the room. The lead Vargan, Ambassador Krell, took the crystal with long fingers tipped with sharp black nails. He inserted it into a reader, and his upper eyes narrowed as he scanned the message. Your species dares to refuse our generous offer. Krell's voice rumbled with both surprise and amusement. We give you the opportunity to surrender with minimal casualties, and you choose extinction. We choose to defend ourselves, Jai replied calmly. Krell laughed, a harsh grating sound that showed rows of pointed teeth. Your species requires years to build a single capital ship. We have thousands. Surrender now and minimize the suffering. Ambassador Jai stood his ground. We respectfully decline. Then you will die, Krell snarled, rising to his full height of nearly 8 feet. The Vargan Dominion will take what we need. Your colonies will serve our expansion, with or without their current inhabitants. As Jai left the meeting, his communicator vibrated. The message was simple. Thunderbolt activated. Across human space, hidden doors slid open on remote asteroids. Abandoned mining facilities suddenly hummed with activity. Underwater bases on distant moons lit up with power for the first time in decades. Ordinary-looking industrial complexes transformed as hidden machinery emerged from concealed chambers. On Mars, Supervisor Yunho watched in amazement as the storage facility she had managed for 15 years revealed its true purpose. Walls retracted to expose massive quantum manipulators, and the floor opened to reveal material processing systems that descended hundreds of meters below the surface. I had no idea, she whispered to the military officer who had arrived hours earlier with activation codes. No one did, he replied. That was the point. The quantum probability factories began to hum to life, their energy signatures carefully masked to avoid detection by passing ships or long-range scanners. Within hours, they were consuming raw materials at an astonishing rate. Entire asteroids fed into molecular processors, gas giant atmospheres siphoned for rare elements, stockpiled metals flowing into fabrication chambers. In a secure bunker beneath the Pacific Ocean on Earth, Dr. Song, one of the few scientists who had continued Ta Wu's work, monitored the global activation. Displays showed green lights appearing across a map of human territory, as each facility came online. All systems operating at optimal levels, her assistant reported. Production estimates suggest we'll exceed the original projections by 15%. Dr. Song nodded, feeling both pride and apprehension. After 50 years of secrecy, the galaxy is about to discover what humans are truly capable of. In deep space, the Vargan fleet continued its advance, unaware that the easy victory they anticipated was quickly becoming impossible. The hunters were about to discover they had severely underestimated their prey. Supervisor Haynewell had worked in the Europa shipyards for 23 years. She knew every step of building a warship by heart. First came the central keel, then the support ribs, then the hull plating. Each step took weeks. A destroyer typically needed 14 months from start to finish. That was the natural order of things. Until today. She stood on the observation platform overlooking Construction Bay 12, her hands gripping the railing so tightly her knuckles had turned white. Below her, something impossible was happening. The bay had been empty 6 hours ago. Now a destroyer's frame was taking shape before her eyes. Not in the usual sequential process she had supervised for decades, but all at once, as if an invisible hand was pulling the ship into existence from multiple directions simultaneously. Status report, she said into her communicator, her voice barely steady. Quantum field stable at 97% efficiency, replied Chief Engineer Kang from the control room. Material consumption rate is optimal. Hull frame will be complete in approximately 40 minutes. 40 minutes, Haynewell whispered. Not 40 days. 40 minutes. She watched as robotic assemblers moved with precision around the growing ship. They weren't building the vessel in the traditional sense. They were guiding the quantum process, ensuring the probability fields collapsed in the correct patterns. The actual construction was happening at the molecular level, particles arranging themselves into perfect configurations at speeds that made her dizzy to consider. It's like watching time-lapse photography, she whispered as the destroyer's superstructure assembled itself in hours instead of months. Behind her, the door to the observation deck slid open. Director Hyun entered, his face showing the same mixture of awe and disbelief that Haynewell felt. Is it the same in all the bays? She asked, not taking her eyes off the growing ship below. All 12 bays, Hyun confirmed. And not just here. Reports are coming in from every facility across the system. The quantum factories are all functioning at peak efficiency. A flash of light drew their attention to Construction Bay 7, visible through another window. There, the frame of a cruiser was already complete, and weapon systems were being integrated directly into the hull as it formed. Have you seen the resource consumption reports? Hyun asked, bringing up a holographic display. The Ceres asteroid mining facility processed more material in the past 6 hours than in the previous 3 months combined. The display showed a massive asteroid being systematically broken down, its matter converted to energy, then reconstituted as precisely arranged molecular structures that fed directly into the quantum probability fields. How is this possible? Haynewell asked. I understand the theory, but seeing it. Dr. Tae-woo explained it to me once, Hyun said. He said that conventional manufacturing is like building with blocks one at a time. This is more like having all the blocks decide simultaneously where they should be, and then just going there. Haynewell shook her head in wonder. For her entire career, she had supervised the painstaking assembly of ships, managing teams of engineers and construction workers who dedicated years of their lives to building a single vessel. Now she was watching a process that made all that effort seem as primitive as stone tools. What happens when the Vargans discover what we're doing? She asked. They won't, Hyun replied. Not until it's too late. All the facilities are using energy masking technology. From the outside, they appear to be operating at normal levels. A notification chimed on Haynewell's communicator. Bay 12 destroyer frame is complete. Beginning systems integration. She checked the time. 37 minutes since she had last asked for a status report. The ship that should have taken months to reach this stage was ahead of schedule in a process that already defied belief. On the other side of the Jupiter system, Commander Jiho received the first production reports from across human space. The numbers were better than even the most optimistic projections. 217 warship frames completed in the first 24 hours, he told Admiral Sung during their secure communication. At this rate, we'll have over 800 vessels by the end of the week. Admiral Sung's expression remained serious. And the Vargan fleet? Maintaining course and speed, Jiho reported. Their advanced scouts are approaching the Ta City system, but have detected nothing unusual. Our masking systems are working perfectly. Keep it that way, Sung ordered. We need total surprise when we deploy. By the third day, the transformation of human manufacturing capability was complete. Construction bays that had once produced a single ship per year were now producing 3 ships per day. Quantum probability factories had consumed entire asteroids, converting their mass into precisely arranged molecular structures at speeds previously thought impossible. Energy grids across human space redirected maximum power to the facilities. Some colonies experienced rolling blackouts as every available watt was channeled to the quantum manipulators. No one complained. Everyone understood what was at stake. In the Ceres facility, Chief Engineer Mun monitored the integration of advanced weapon systems into a newly formed battle cruiser. Unlike conventional manufacturing, where systems were installed sequentially over months, the quantum process allowed weapons, propulsion, and defense systems to be integrated simultaneously with the hull construction. Shield generator integration complete, reported a technician. Moving to final calibration. Time, Mun asked. 3 hours and 14 minutes from start to finish. Mun nodded, still struggling to adjust to the new timescales. His team had previously required 2 weeks just to install a shift shield generators. Now they were doing it in hours while simultaneously integrating dozens of other systems. On Earth, Dr. Song presented the latest production figures to President Du Hyun and the Defense Council. 342 ships completed and ready for crew assignment, she announced. Another 416 in final stages of integration. By day 7, we will have over 900 vessels ready for deployment. Crews? Asked Defense Minister Jai. Training simulations are running around the clock, responded Fleet Commander Park. We've activated all reserve personnel and fast-tracked senior cadets from the academies. It won't be perfect, but every ship will have a qualified command team and essential crew. The President studied the production charts with a mix of pride and solemnity. After 50 years, we're finally seeing the full potential of Dr. Tao's discovery. I only wish it hadn't taken a crisis of this magnitude to implement it. In deep space, the Vargan fleet continued its inexorable advance toward human territory. Their massive warships moved in perfect formation, weapon systems ready, invasion forces prepared. Long-range scanners detected nothing unusual in human space. No large fleet movements, no sudden increase in defense platforms, nothing that would indicate a significant response to their impending attack. Fleet Commander Groln received the latest intelligence reports in his private chamber aboard the Vargan flagship. The humans continue their normal activities, his intelligence officer reported. Their construction facilities show typical energy outputs. Their defense forces remain at standard deployment patterns. Groln's 4 yellow eyes narrowed with satisfaction. Good. They have accepted their fate, even if they won't admit it yet. What the Vargan commander couldn't see were the hundreds of warships taking shape throughout human space, assembled at quantum speeds in facilities that appeared dormant to outside observers. The greatest manufacturing revolution in galactic history was happening right under their noses, and they had no idea. While the Vargans prepared for an easy conquest, humanity was preparing the greatest surprise in military history. On the 6th day of Operation Thunderbolt, Commander Jiho stood in the Launch Control Center of Ganymede Station. Through the reinforced viewing windows, he could see the massive doors of Construction Bay 1 slowly opening. From the darkness emerged the bow of a ship unlike any the Human Federation had previously fielded. The HFS Thunderbolt slid forward into space, its hull gleaming under the station lights. It was a battle cruiser, over 800 meters long, with smooth lines that concealed weapon systems far more advanced than anything in the current fleet. Just 6 days ago, it had been nothing but raw materials and design plans. "Beautiful, isn't she?" Admiral Sung said, joining Jiho at the window. "Hard to believe she didn't exist a week ago," Jiho replied. The Admiral handed him a data tablet. "She's yours, Commander. Crew assignments are complete. You launch in 6 hours." Jiho looked up in surprise. "Sir, I thought I was staying with Ganymede Station Coordination." "Plans have changed. The Vargan scout ships have increased their surveillance. We need our best commanders leading these battle groups." The Admiral's expression was firm. "You've been training on the simulators. You know these ships better than anyone." As they spoke, another vessel emerged from Bay 2, then another from Bay 3. Across Jupiter space, similar scenes were playing out as hundreds of warships were being revealed for the first time. In the Galactic Council's monitoring station, in the neutral Epsilon system, alarm notifications began flashing across multiple screens. Senior Monitor Zalfar, a member of the amphibious Corellian species, moved quickly between the displays. "Energy spike in human territory," he reported to his supervisor. Multiple signatures, hundreds of them, appearing simultaneously across several systems. Supervisor Meckler studied the readings, his scaled brow furrowing. "These readings can't be correct. Run a diagnostic." "Diagnostic complete. Readings are accurate." Zalfar brought up visual confirmation from long-range observation posts. "These are warships, sir. Hundreds of them, appearing in formation." Meckler activated the emergency communication channel to the Galactic Council headquarters. "We need to convene an emergency session. The humans have just revealed a fleet that didn't exist days ago." Within hours, the council chamber was filled with representatives from the 23 species that formed the galactic community. Demands for explanation were sent to the Human Federation, but no response came. The human ambassador's seat remained conspicuously empty. "This is a clear violation of the armament disclosure agreements," insisted the Alturian representative, his crystalline form glittering under the chamber lights. "All major fleet construction must be reported to the Council." "How could they have hidden such a buildup?" asked the Tellarite ambassador. "Our monitoring stations would have detected the construction activity." No one had answers, only more questions, and the humans maintained their silence. Aboard the Vargan flagship Inevitable Conquest, Admiral Grolm stared at the sensor displays in disbelief. His forward scouts had sent back data that seemed impossible. Hundreds of warship signatures appearing throughout human space, many of them showing energy readings that surpassed even Vargan technology. "Impossible," he muttered, studying the sensor data. "Their shipyards couldn't have produced this many vessels without our knowledge. This must be some kind of deception." "The readings are verified, Admiral," his sensor officer reported. Multiple scouts confirmed the same findings. "These are real ships, not sensor ghosts." Grom's 4 yellow eyes narrowed to slits. "How?" "They were defenseless days ago." "Unknown, sir. But the human fleet now outnumbers our invasion force, and their technology signature suggests capabilities we didn't anticipate." For the first time since the campaign began, Admiral Grolm felt uncertainty. The easy victory he had promised his Dominion now seemed in question. Back in human space, the final phase of Operation Thunderbolt was nearing completion. By the end of the 7th day, over 800 newly constructed vessels had formed battle groups throughout human territory. Each incorporated adaptive shield systems, advanced AI targeting arrays, and weaponry that had previously existed only in theoretical research. Commander Jiho walked through the corridors of the HFS Thunderbolt, inspecting his new command. The ship still smelled of new materials, the floors unmarked by use, the walls pristine. Crew members rushed past, preparing for their first deployment. Many wore expressions of barely contained excitement mixed with nervous energy. Jiho entered the bridge, where activity reached a controlled frenzy. Officers moved between stations, running final checks on systems that had only existed for days. Commander on the bridge, called Lieutenant Junseo, Jiho's newly assigned executive officer. The bridge crew came to attention briefly before Jiho waved them back to their duties. Status report, Lieutenant. All systems operational, Junseo reported, handing over a datapad. Primary and secondary weapon systems calibrated. Quantum drive at 100% efficiency. Shield generators online and tested. Battle group is ready for deployment. Jiho took a moment to absorb the reality of his situation. A week ago, he had been a station commander, overseeing routine operations on Ganymede. Now he stood on the bridge of the most advanced warship humans had ever built, preparing to lead a battle group against the most aggressive species in known space. Communications, open a channel to all ships in Battle Group Thunder, he ordered. The communications officer nodded. Channel open. Sir. Jiho took a deep breath. This is Commander Jiho to all Thunder Group vessels. 1 week ago, our ships did not exist. Today, we stand ready to defend humanity against those who thought us weak. Every crew member aboard our vessels is trained for this moment. Every system on our ships represents the pinnacle of human ingenuity. He paused, looking around at his bridge crew, men and women who, like him, had been thrust into positions they had trained for, but never expected to fill so suddenly. The Vargan Dominion believed they could conquer us because we built too slowly to defend ourselves. Today, we proved them wrong. Battle Group Thunder, prepare for departure. We deploy in 30 minutes. Across the bridge, officers exchanged glances of determination mixed with pride. Lieutenant Junseo approached Jiho after the announcement. Sir, I've been reviewing the combat simulations. Our new targeting systems should give us a significant advantage in the initial engagement. Jiho nodded. The advantage of surprise will be even greater. The Vargans still don't understand what they're facing. On the main view screen, he could see the other ships of Battle Group Thunder moving into formation. 5 destroyers, 3 cruisers, and his flagship battlecruiser, all constructed within days rather than years. Helm, set course to intercept the Vargan fleet, Jiho ordered. We'll rendezvous with the other battle groups at the designated coordinates. As the Thunderbolt's engines powered up, Jiho felt a moment of clarity. This ship, this fleet, represented more than just a military response. It was the revelation of humanity's true potential. The ability to adapt and overcome at speeds the rest of the galaxy had never imagined possible. The stars on the view screen began to shift as the Thunderbolt moved away from Ganymede Station, joining a fleet that would soon show the Vargan Dominion and the entire galaxy exactly what humans were capable of when pushed too far. Commander Jiho stood on the bridge of the HFS Thunderbolt, watching the massive formation of Vargan warships on the main view screen. His battle group had taken position at the edge of the Ta Ceti system, directly in the path of the invasion fleet. Behind him, 7 other human battle groups had formed a defensive line that stretched across the approach vector. The Vargan ships slowed their advance as their long-range sensors confirmed what their scouts had reported. A human armada had materialized seemingly from nowhere. Where the Dominion had expected to find scattered, outdated defensive positions, they instead faced a fleet that matched their own in size and exceeded it in technological sophistication. They've stopped, Lieutenant Junseo reported, studying his tactical display. All Vargan vessels are holding position just outside weapons range. Jiho nodded. They're reassessing. Open a communication channel to their flagship. The communications officer worked at her console. Channel open, Commander. You're on with the Vargan fleet. Jiho straightened his uniform and looked directly at the camera. This is Commander Jiho of the Human Federation. Your invasion force has entered sovereign human space. You have 1 hour to reverse course. The screen flickered, and the image of a Vargan appeared. Admiral Grolm's gray skin seemed even more pallid than usual, the ridges on his face more pronounced under stress. His 4 yellow eyes narrowed as he studied Jiho. "How is this possible?" the Vargan admiral demanded. "Your species could not have built such a fleet without our knowledge." "We've always been builders," Jiho replied simply. "We simply decided to build faster." Grolm's upper eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of agitation in Vargan's. "No species can construct capital ships in days. It violates the basic principles of manufacturing. Perhaps you should reconsider what you think you know about human capabilities," Jiho said. "Your fleet is outmatched. You have 59 minutes to begin withdrawal." The Vargan admiral's face contorted with rage. "The Dominion does not retreat. Then the Dominion will learn a painful lesson today." Jiho kept his voice calm. "Scan our vessels. Note the weapons systems. Consider that 1 week ago, these ships did not exist. Imagine what else we might be capable of." Admiral Grolm cut the communication channel. On the bridge of the Thunderbolt, tension filled the air as everyone waited for the Vargan response. "Tactical analysis?" Jiho asked. Lieutenant Hana, the tactical officer, reported promptly. "Their fleet is in disarray. We're detecting conflicting energy signatures, some ships powering weapons, others preparing for warp. They seem to be arguing among themselves." An hour passed. Then, too, the Vargan fleet remained in position, neither advancing nor retreating. "They're testing our resolve," Jiho said to his bridge crew. "Prepare for possible engagement." Just as he finished speaking, the tactical display changed. "Multiple ships changing position," Hana reported. 3 Vargan cruisers are breaking formation. They're turning away." Over the next hour, more Vargan ships began to turn. By the end of the day, half their fleet had altered course, moving away from human space. The remaining ships followed the next morning. The Vargan fleet, faced with a force they had not prepared to engage, halted their advance. Within days, their ships had withdrawn completely from the border region. 2 weeks later, President Duhyun stood before the Galactic Council. Representatives from 23 species watched with a mixture of fear, respect, and curiosity as the human leader prepared to address them. "Honored representatives," Duhyun began, "I come before you today to explain the events of recent weeks. For 50 years, humanity has kept a technological breakthrough secret from the galactic community, not out of malice, but out of caution." The chamber remained silent as Duhyun activated a holographic display showing the quantum probability manipulators in action. Dr. Tohu discovered that quantum particles could be guided toward preferred states, essentially allowing us to manufacture at speeds previously thought impossible. We kept this capability hidden, worried that it might create fear or trigger an arms race. The Alturian representative, his crystalline form shimmering with agitation, spoke first. "This technology violates no less than 7 disclosure agreements within the Council Charter. We recognize that," Duhyun acknowledged. "But consider our position. As a relatively new member of the galactic community, with limited territory and resources, we feared that revealing such a disruptive technology would make us targets. Recent events with the Vargan Dominion proved our concerns were justified." The Tellarite ambassador leaned forward. "So you hid this capability until threatened, then produced hundreds of warships in days. How can the Council trust a species with such power?" Dohyun looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of each representative. "We never wanted to be warriors," he said. "We are builders by nature. But when threatened, we chose to build the tools necessary for our survival. And now we offer this technology not for war, but to help build a more secure galaxy for all species." Murmurs filled the chamber as representatives considered his words. "Imagine disaster relief ships constructed in hours rather than months," Duhyun continued. "Medical facilities for plague-stricken worlds built in days. Habitats for refugees ready in a week. The quantum manufacturing technology can transform how we respond to crises throughout the galaxy." Over the following months, humanity shared the basics of quantum manufacturing with the Council, while keeping certain military applications classified. What had been considered a minor civilization was suddenly recognized as a technological powerhouse. The revelation fundamentally altered the balance of power throughout the galaxy. Commander Jiho, now Admiral Jiho, returned to Ganymede Station 6 months after the confrontation with the Vargans. From his office window, he could see a very different scene than before. The station had been expanded using quantum manufacturing techniques, now serving as a central hub for both military and civilian construction projects. Where once a single defense platform had taken months to build, now 3 massive ships were under construction simultaneously, visible through the large viewport. Unlike during Operation Thunderbolt, these were being built at a measured pace, with careful oversight and scheduled completion dates. Admiral, the Galactic Council delegation has arrived, Lieutenant Jun Seo reported, now serving as Jiho's aide. Jiho nodded. Show them to the observation deck. I think they'll find our current projects interesting. As he prepared to meet the delegation, Jiho reflected on the changes of the past months. The Vargan Dominion had signed a non-aggression pact with the Human Federation. Several other species had formed new alliances with humanity, eager to benefit from their technological innovations. Even the previously hostile Zakarian Empire had opened diplomatic relations. The day that humanity transformed from centuries of construction to hundreds of warships in a single week became known throughout the galaxy as the quantum shift. The moment when humanity revealed not just its technological prowess, but its fundamental nature, adaptable, resourceful, and ultimately, unstoppable when motivated by survival. Looking out at the ships under construction, Jiho knew they represented something more important than military power. They represented humanity's true gift to the galaxy, the ability to build a better future, faster than anyone had thought possible. The end.